Hello, and welcome to San Lando Sound Waves. I'm Fletcher Wilson, and this is Week 7, Day 33. Today, our reading is Romans 1:24 through 32. Therefore, God gave them over in the sinful desires of their hearts to sexual impurity for the degrading of their bodies with one another. They exchanged the truth of God for a lie and worshipped and served created things rather than the Creator, who is forever praised. Amen. Because of this, God gave them over to shameful lusts. Even their women exchanged natural relations for unnatural ones. In the same way, the men also abandoned natural relations with women and were inflamed with lust for one another. Men committed indecent acts with other men and received in themselves the due penalty for their perversion. Furthermore, since they did not think it worthwhile to retain the knowledge of God, He gave them over to a depraved mind to do what ought not to be done. They have become filled with every kind of wickedness, evil, greed, and depravity. They are full of envy, murder, strife, deceit, and malice. They are gossips, slanderers, God-haters, insolent, arrogant, and boastful. They invent ways of doing evil. They disobey their parents. They are senseless, faithless, heartless, ruthless. Although they know God's righteous decree that those who do such things deserve death, they not only continue to do these very things, but also approve of those who practice them. Let's consider our 7 arrows. What does this passage say? What did this passage mean to its original audience? What does this passage tell us about God? What does this passage tell us about mankind? What does the passage demand of me? How does this passage change the way I relate to people? What does this passage prompt me to pray to God? Now let's look at the devotional in our book on page 48. God defines sin as loving anything more than Him. God's purpose for each of our lives is that we would reflect Him and show how great He is. Yet sin makes it impossible for us to do that. Paul told us God's response to our foolish exchange. We've already seen that our sin means we stand condemned, and the punishment is God's wrath for eternity. But that's not all. He also allows us to feel the consequences of sin, our sin, in this light. Paul said that God gives sinners over to their desires. People choose to love other things, and God allows them to run away from Him, and much like Adam and Eve, suffer the consequences of their choices. You've likely experienced this reality in your own life. You decide to make a sinful choice. At first it feels good, so you continue to do it. But in time, something happens. You get trapped in your sin, and you begin to feel the pain. You might get busted by your parents, or you may simply have to deal with the guilt of the choices you've made. Sin doesn't feel so good after a while. God gives us over so we will see that His ways are best, and we should trust Him. Thanks for joining, and we hope you'll tune in tomorrow.